All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. Welcome to another live stream. In today's live stream, we're going to settle the great debate: leasing versus buying a car, leasing versus buying a car. A lot of people say you should buy a car. A lot of people say you should lease a car. In today's video, we're going to go over the pros and cons of different scenarios and see which one I like the best, and just see, is it better to lease a car or is it better to buy a car? All right, so there's three options when it comes to getting a vehicle. You can either buy it new, you can either buy it used, or you can either lease it, right? So those are the three options. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of those options, and then we're going to go back and forth, right? All right, number one, buying a new vehicle. Let's go over the pros and cons of buying a new vehicle. Number one, the first pro of buying a new vehicle is that you have reliability and warranty. It comes with a full manufacturer warranty and is less likely to have mechanical issues. And this is true. When you get a new car, that's the whole point of getting the new car. You have that warranty, right? Most likely nothing will go wrong with the car because it's brand new. But if it's something does, you do have that warranty that you get with a new vehicle. I think it's like 3 to 5 years for all the major parts, right? Your transmission, your engine, and things like that. You don't need to worry about for those first few years. So that's one of those things that people say, okay, well, I don't want to be worrying about driving this thing and it's stopping and things like that. So that reliability from a new car is one of the main selling points of getting a new vehicle, right? And the fact that you're the first owner, you're going to know, okay, I'm the one putting the miles on this car. I know exactly what it's doing and things like that. All right. Number two, latest technology and safety features. Now, this is more, and when we think about it from a finance perspective, we're thinking about fuel efficiency. Now, a lot of the new vehicles have better fuel efficiency because they have the newest technology. And, a lot of people consider that you get more miles to the gallon when you get a new vehicle. A lot of the older cars are not that fuel efficient. So that's something you have to take into consideration and say, okay, when I get this new vehicle, most likely it's going to give me a lot more miles per gallon, and I'm going to be spending less on gas, right? And it'll take it to the next level if you get an electric vehicle. So you got to think about that too. That's the second pro of getting a new vehicle, is the latest technology and safety features. Number three, for pro, better financing options. And this is true. Normally, when people buy a new vehicle, they don't buy it outright cash. They typically look for financing option or financing solutions. Right, and a lot of the times with a new vehicle, you'll get that 0% down. Obviously, the payment each month will be substantially higher, but they do offer those good financing options. If it's not 0%, it's close to zero, right? 2-3%. So you typically get better financing options with a newer vehicle, and that'll help you with the payments and just help you get into it a lot quicker, right? Okay, so those are the pros for buying a new vehicle. The cons: one, higher costs, more expensive upfront than a used, with the higher taxes, insurance, and registration fees. This is true. A new car is going to be a lot more expensive. You're buying it brand new, so you're going to pay that sticker price. And nowadays, it's really significant nowadays because a typical car, and we'll look at it later, we'll go into a generic brand, a common brand, and see how much cars go for, but right now you can't get a brand new vehicle for less than like 30K, right? Just with the basic options, basic everything, you can't get a new vehicle. So you need to be very cognizant of, okay, I'm going to be paying the highest cost if I get a new vehicle, and it's specifically insurance too. You can't put, if you don't pay it off cash, you can't put partial coverage. You need to have full coverage. Registration is going to be a little more expensive and things like that. So, yeah. Two, depreciation loses significant value around 20 to 30% with the first few years. That's true. As soon as you drive that new vehicle off the lot, you lose a lot of depreciation, and like you just paid for a $30,000 to $40,000 vehicle, and you're probably losing like 5 to 10% right off when you drive it off the lot. And then also in the first few years, you're getting that depreciation pretty quickly. So yeah, those are kind of like the cons. Again, and so the third con would be long-term commitment. If you finance, you're locked into payments for years. That is true. You do lock your payment in for years. So if you have like a $600 payment, and you think about, typically when people buy a brand new car, they think about keeping it for years and years. So if you can't stomach that $600 payment for that long, then that will be that'll be an issue. And typically, right, you get better financing options, you get better interest. So and then you put less down, you're gonna have a bigger payment. You get locked into that commitment. It may be something, and I see it a lot with people, right? They buy a brand new car, they love it for the first 2 years, but then after they're like, oh man, this $700 payment, and now the car is getting old. So now you're paying for an old car with that kind of like that high payment. All right, so those are the pros and cons of buying a new car. Let's get into the pros and cons of buying a used car. Pros for used car. Number one, lower purchasing price, right? Cost significantly less than a new car with lower taxes and insurance. This is true. You could get it for significantly less than what a new car would go for. If a new car is going for 30 grand, if you get a car that has 10, 15,000 miles on it, you could probably get it for 19 to 20,000. And those miles don't really, sometimes if the person that kept up with the car did really good, then 15 to 20,000 miles is not a lot of miles. So lower purchasing price is the first pro of buying a used car. Two, the second pro is less depreciation. The previous owner has already absorbed the steepest depreciation. Like you said, you get that steepest depreciation from the first few years, and since you weren't the first owner, you won't bear the brunt of that depreciation. So yeah, that's number two. Number three, more car for the money. You might afford a higher end model for the same price as a new base model, and this is true. After they come out with a new model, a year or two, they're thinking about releasing the next model. So sometimes, for a car with a little bit of mileage and things like that, you can get a pretty decent up-to-date model for a cheaper price. So you get more car for your money, and that's typically why people buy a used car. All right, so let's get into the cons of buying a used car. Potential maintenance issues, right? Higher mileage, wear and tear can lead to costly repairs. And this was true when I was in college. I was buying really, really used cars, like 50 to 100,000 miles on them, and they always needed something. Every week, something was broken, alternator, transmission, something with the engine, just always something was broken with that. So that's what you don't what to look forward to when you get a used car. Most likely, if the owner didn't take care of it, the previous owner, you're going to be paying a lot of money in maintenance costs, and it's just one of those things that you can't see into the future. Because a lot of the times the owner say, yeah, I take care of the car, did the oil change, when maybe they were just doing the oil change every other year, right? And they were hitting the brakes too hard, maybe damaged the brakes, which damaged more interior stuff. They just didn't take care of the vehicle. So potential maintenance costs is the first con. Two, limited or no warranty. Like we said, for the used car, you usually get all that warranty. For a used car, typically all the warranty is gone, right? Unless the previous owner did like some extended warranty. But for the most part, that's typically gone unless you get a certified vehicle from the Toyota, and again, or Toyota, but from the dealership, and they give you an extended warranty, right? So no warranty is the second con. And three, older technology may lack newer safety features, full efficiency, tech upgrades. Again, like we said, for the newer vehicle, typically people get a newer vehicle. One of the perks is that you could get more miles to the gallon, specifically for gas, obviously, and for electric too, but specifically for gas. If you have an older vehicle, it's older technology, usually using a lot of fuel to go a lot less further, right? So yeah, those are the pros and cons of buying a used vehicle. Um, you know, and there they go. All right, so leasing a car, the last option, leasing a car. Pros, lower monthly payments compared to financing a new car. Leases usually have lower monthly payments. This is true. If you work out a good lease, good terms, take your time, you could get a lower monthly payment, and you don't have to put as much down. Typically, like 1,000 to 2,000 bucks, and you can get right into the lease. You work the terms, tweak the years a little bit, tweak the mileage you have a year, and you could get into some lower monthly payments, and that's attractive to a lot of people. Two, always drive a newer car. Again, this is probably not the financial perspective of it, but some people like to be in a newer car every few years. So this is the cheapest option to do it instead of buying a car every few years, because you do get equity into that lease and you can transition that into the next vehicle if you stay with the same dealership. So yeah. Three, minimal repair costs. Yeah, you really don't have any repair costs with leasing, because typically in the contract they still own the car, so the dealer has the incentive to always repair it for you for free or nearly to no cost when you bring it in with issues, right? And it's a brand new car, so if it had an issue, you bring it in. But most likely it won't have an issue because the car is brand new, right? Cons, no ownership and equity. Yeah, again, I don't really look at cars as an investment, but yeah, you don't. This is kind of false, right? But because you do kind of build some type of equity to go into the next lease, if you think about it like that. But as far as like selling it outright on the streets, you don't own it. You don't have the title, so you can't really claim ownership of it. You don't own anything, but you could start a new lease, and there is equity in that, and you do have leverage in that. Two, mileage and limited fees. This is probably one of the ones. So yeah, you do get limited fees. Typically, it's like 10 to 15,000 miles a year for the vehicle, and then you have it for 2 to 3 years. So some people, this is a headache because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to think about the mileage, and I don't want to think about, oh, if I travel this far, blah 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 blah, right? So that is the thing you do have to look. Limited miles and fees. Three, long-term costs can be higher. Leasing repeatedly can cost more over time. Buying a car and keeping it long-term. And this one, it could be the case too. You're always going to have a payment each month. But again, those repair fees that I think you will, like, it factors into that, because for leasing, you don't really have those repair fees, especially if you get like tire warranty where you don't have to replace the tires and things like that, which is like a few extra bucks for your payment each month. You don't have to do that. So yeah, those are the pros and cons of leasing a vehicle. And yeah, so out of the three, buying a new car, buying a used car, or leasing a car, which one would I choose, and which one do I do currently? Well, currently I lease a vehicle. That is my preferred method right now. I'm actually thinking about buying a Tesla next, and maybe paying it off cash, or put a significant amount down and just doing that. And the reason being for that is because I just got to save money on gas, and I don't have to eliminate my gas thing. But I've been leasing for the last 6 years, right? And it's been really good experience, at least for me. So I have a Lexus, slightly higher, I guess luxury. It's like a step above a Toyota, but I've been getting really good deals. Like my first deal that I got when leasing was during COVID, and it was a really good deal. Like I only had to put like 1,500 down, or maybe it was 2,500 down, and then I was paying like $400 a month. At the time, for me, that was a really good deal, especially financially. I didn't have to put much down, and I think I traded in my old vehicle that I had. Like it was like a $4,000 vehicle. They gave me like $1,000 credit, and I put 1,500 out of my pocket. So 2,500. And the reason why I prefer leasing is because I've always had trouble with cars as far as used cars, and I didn't want to buy a new car because you have to put a lot of money down. We already went through the cons of a new car, but you always have to put like a decent amount of money down, and if you don't, you get a good financing deal, you still gonna have to pay a lot monthly, right? Because the car is gonna be like 30 to 40,000. So I lease it. I typically pay around $400 to $500 a month. And again, it's nice having a newer vehicle every 2 to 3 years. And the main thing for me is I can work out the deal pretty good. And two, like I don't have to worry about maintenance issues. That was the main thing for me. I've had a lot of maintenance issues with cars growing up, and I did not want to deal with that after college, after I got my job. I wanted something reliable, and also I don't agree with most of these cons for leasing a vehicle. Again, the no ownership equity. I think you guys can see I was combating some of these things. You do get some equity in the car as far as going into the next lease. So that's something to take in consideration. I typically get like $8,000 to $10,000 in equity, right, to go into the next lease, and they apply that to the next lease. So this is how I'm always getting this lower monthly payment of 500. Like right now, I think my payment is like 540. It started at 400, like 410. Went my second lease was like 470, and now I'm paying like 554. And like $30 of that is this tire warranty that I get. That if anything happens to my tire, they replace it. So again, with all the nails on the road, again, you don't have to think about that. So I really don't think about buying a new or leasing a vehicle as an investment. I think about it, what's going to give me the less headache, right? And maybe you're in a financial situation where you got to you got to choose one of the, like a used car or something like that, or whatever option for you because of your finances, and that's good. So that or that works out for you. And I think that is the answer. It really just depends on your financial situation, but I don't think you should overspend on a vehicle. You should definitely work out a great deal on whatever you do. If you're going to buy a new car, try to get the best financing options. If you're trying to lease a car, try to get the best monthly payment that you can afford, and try to get the most warranties and things like that. But for me, I think overall leasing a vehicle works. I'm transitioning to that because I just want to get rid of the payment altogether. So I'm thinking about just a cash car, electric. So I'll get rid of my car payment and I'll get rid of the gas payment. I just really don't. I want to get rid of the payments altogether. I want to lower my. It's just a goal of mine to get most of my payments, like not have a lot of payments, right? So, but I did the leasing for a long time. I did it for 6 years, and I could say, doing it the right way will definitely be beneficial. But I could see why people do either or option. Typically, when people buy a new car, they're like, okay, well, at least I don't have to worry about maintenance. I get a good financing option and stuff like that. Either way, you're gonna have to pay a monthly payment, right? Some people are like, oh, well, you could get a $2,000-$3,000 car. Well, you're gonna have a lot of issues, right? And if you have a job that you have to go to, that's gonna be an issue. You don't want something. So I think in all scenarios, you're gonna have to waste money for the car. It's not something where it's just gonna be like zero net. Some people are like, oh, just do Uber. You're gonna have to pay for that too. Take 2 Ubers a day. It's gonna be about a car payment each month. So the answer is it depends. I like leasing, but let's actually look at a vehicle website, like a typical vehicle website, just to look at the prices really quick, and then we could be finished. All right, let me share my screen. All right, so I picked Nissan of Fort Lauderdale. I don't live in Fort Lauderdale, but I was just putting it up. So let's take a look at, what are some of these cars going for, right? So I said the typical car is like 30,000 to 40. Now, obviously, maybe you do get the cheapest option. I did see somebody though a long time ago bought a brand new Kia, brand new, and then within a year the transmission exploded or like the engine exploded. But they did have warranty, right? So that's a great thing about buying a new car. But it's still an inconvenience. So if we look at it, $20,000 for a brand new Nissan Versa. Again, if you're a person that says, I just need something to get me from point A to point B, you don't really care about luxury, maybe this is something you do. Like a Nissan, they got a CVT, they got a cheaper one too for 17,000. I'm pretty sure if you put like $5,000 to $6,000 down, you could probably get your payment to $300 a month with insurance, maybe an additional 100 to 150, so you put you around 450. Or maybe you can get it lower depending on the financing options, right? But for this, you could probably get a good leasing deal as well. If you put $2,000 to $3,000 down, you probably get like a 300 to 350 payment. You do have to have insurance both ways, buying or leasing. So, yeah. Let's see what else. So obviously the better models cost a lot more money, but typically right here for Nissan, you could get something 20,000 or 15 to 20,000 dollars brand new. So this might be the option for you, right? If you're trying to do Uber or something, maybe you just go with a cheap Nissan, a cheap Honda. You could get it for 20 to 25,000 and get a low payment, work out a good deal. This is probably the best option. Again, I got a Lexus because it's just something I liked. But before I had cheaper models like a Scion, I had a Honda and things like that. So, yeah. But yeah, this is typically where you're going to see that 20 to 30 to $40,000 range for a brand new vehicle. But yeah, so that's my take on whether you should buy, lease, or buy a new, buy a used, or lease a vehicle. Right? It just depends. If it really got to look at your finances and say, okay, what options get the best fit for me, and maybe later you can just choose from all three options because of your personal preference. But maybe now you have to really think about your finances and what you can afford. But that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.